virus, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. There's nobody in studio. I have no scheduled guests, but I do have the call-in line open. I suppose I should turn it on first. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about a few things here. First and foremost, of course, is going to be the coronavirus. So the bulk of the show, we're going to kind of unpack the coronavirus and really how a Christian should be handling this right now. I'll let you know how I'm handling it. Not that I am the standard for that, but then we'll take a look at why some people are freaking out and why some people are relatively calm. And I think we're all bothered by this thing. We're bothered by not knowing what's going to happen, and we don't really know. This is the first time we've really been hit with something like this, kind of in theory anyway. So we've had other major bird flu and H1N and swine flu and all that stuff, but for some reason this is very different, and things are shutting down, and it's not a bluff. They seem to be taking extraordinary precautions this time, and there has to be a reason for that. So I think things will probably, in my opinion, they'll probably get a little worse in the next few weeks before they get better. But they will get better. So I want you to encourage you to hang in there. We're going to talk about that probably for the bulk of the night. But first, probably going to talk about the big news that everybody kind of wants to talk about. The big buzz in the world today, right now, is of course Tom Brady is a Buccaneer. That's the wrong button. All right, so they're probably not wild about this in Boston. They're probably not wild about this in New England, and then all those bandwagon jumping Patriot fans that came out of the woodwork when the Patriots got good, they're probably upset too all over the country. But here in Tampa Bay, we're pretty pleased because Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, and I'm a Giants fan, and I will admit he is the greatest player of all time, greatest quarterback of all time, certainly the greatest football player, all-around football player, was Walter Payton. All right, so Walter Payton, I think, was the best football player of my lifetime, but certainly the best quarterback by talent and by success is certainly going to be Tom Brady. So Tom Brady's in Tampa, is going to be in Tampa Bay, which I think almost guarantees us an 8-8 season. So don't forget, we're still Tampa Bay. So very excited about that. The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is this ties into the coronavirus, but I've been binge watching something called The Chosen, and I've been encouraging you guys on Facebook. To check out this. This is pretty unique, at least for me. I don't know. I'm not terribly hip, but I watched this now twice. I really enjoyed it. This is called The Chosen, and it's kind of a TV show. It's a 1 hour TV shows. This season one is. Season two isn't out yet. But what you do is you download the app for either your Apple or your Android, and then you can watch this show, which is really, really, really well made and just a great show. And I've been trying to encourage people. Months ago, I started encouraging people and kind of forgot about it. But now that I've been binge watching a little bit here on kind of a semi self quarantine with the kids, just not going out unless we need to, and certainly I go out when I need to, but when I don't need to, I don't. So I've been hanging around the house with the kids, getting some cleaning done, getting my schoolwork done, and I managed to binge watch both Turn on Netflix, which is really cool. I haven't watched the whole thing, but I kind of stopped. And the other thing that I binge watched last night and today was The Chosen. And I think it's a really great uh, for Christians and for non-Christians. It really tells a great story about not just about Jesus and the gospel message, but also it develops the characters around him. Now, understand Christians that are fun that are very strict gospel people. It's not super terribly accurate. It's a TV show, so it's not going to be if you're offended or if you're rattled because it doesn't stick to the gospels as we know them in the canon. Uh, It'll be a little upsetting for you, but I think it's super well made. I can certainly anybody can pick out things that are scripturally inaccurate, but not really. I think the overall gospel message is well made in this little mini series. So if you're going to be binge watching stuff, I encourage you guys, Christians and non-Christians alike. I think you'll find this really entertaining and informative. And I'll tell you, I watched all 8 episodes the last couple of days, and I probably got choked up 2 or 3 times each episode. It's just very very well done, uh, very well done little TV show you can binge watch. There's only 8 episodes, so you'll probably binge watch it in a day or two. And then the turn about the spies in Washington spies during the Revolution has been very cool. And there's like 4 or 5 seasons of that, so I'm only in like season 2, but also a very cool thing to binge watch. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about kind of what's been going on. And I'm scared, and everybody's scared, but there's different, kind of different degrees of being scared, and there's fear, and then there's irrational fear. There's fear that is that is a God-given gift, right? There's a fear that makes us stop at red lights, right? But that same fear, when we are irrational and disproportionate, uh, uh, we could be pacing in our driveway, afraid to get in a car because we might get in an accident at a red light. So the same fear that makes us stop at red lights that we don't get in an accident is the same fear for some people that have them pacing in the driveway, just terrified to get in the car to drive to work. That is an irrational, disproportionate fear. And that's the kind of fear that makes people run out and buy toilet paper for a viral outbreak that really doesn't seem to affect the digestive system at all. So, and I'm no doctor for sure, but it just some of what I've seen is just overblown. Now, understand, of course, when you're watching CNN and Fox and NBC and ABC and CBS and all of them, they want you to continue watching. So they are going to make this more exciting and more dramatic than it really has to be. Having said that, this is a very exciting and dramatic situation we have. And I'm no expert, but it seems like there's things we don't know about this virus. There's things that we don't know that has even our government willing to sacrifice the stock market uh, to keep this virus from spreading too badly in the United States, like it's spread all over the world. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at some of the numbers from around the world. And I don't know how up to date this is, guys. So you can kind of figure that out for yourselves. But this is from a website called Worldmeters worldmeters.info coronavirus. So I'll put a link for this in the description. But this is, I don't know how up to date this is. They say is last updated today at 22:51 Mountain Time. So I don't know what the hell time that is. It sounds like it's today, though. Sounds pretty recent. Uh, there are 218,544 corona cases of corona in the world, and that's not. It sounds like a big number, but it's not a huge number when you consider the other pandemics that we've had to deal with over this time. Sadly, there's almost 9,000 deaths from this coronavirus. So that would, I don't know off the top of my head, what would that be? 0.5%? I don't even know. I'll do a little math on my calculator here while we're talking. And people have recovered from this, which is very cool. But people have recovered from this to the tune of 84,383. So, so it is. It's like a 3.5% mortality rate, I guess, nationwide or globally, which is, that's striking. That's very high. They're saying right now there are 125,000 over 125,000 active cases right now, with people who are, I'm assuming. Oh, here it is down below. There are closed cases. 84,000 people have recovered from this virus, and unfortunately, almost 9,000 people have passed away from this virus. So it's serious, but when you hold it up against, and like everybody says, if you hold it up against even the flu season that we have every year in the United States, the numbers are not as overwhelming. Here's the thing about this: um, it is deadlier, considerably deadlier, from what I understand, considerably deadlier than or more deadly than the common flu, and it is considerably more contagious. So it's considerably more easy to contract this. So it is while it's something, it's important that we wrap our heads around this. I think it's important that we keep our heads around this as well. So I'm kind of running things here. I'm kind of running a whole bunch of computers and tablets and phones at the same time, so you may get a little bit of dead air because this is not kind of the normal show I do. And I should tell you that the air condition is not performing well here at beautiful God Logic Studios, and it is hot in here. It is like Florida hot, which is kind of everyday hot for us that live in Florida. So it is. It's not comfortable. I'm not going to stay in here any longer than I have to. I just wanted to. I didn't have a show planned for this week anyway, so I wanted to spend some time with uh, just going over things, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And I tell you the truth, I don't watch the news a whole lot. I've been spending more quality time with my kids, and I've been studying. Uh, and I will put the news on every day, a couple of times, and just kind of catch up on what's going on. And I get text messages. I got friends. I got friends in high places, powerful friends that are giving me inside information on things. And the God's honest truth is, I don't know if I trust the inside information any more than I trust the outside information, if that makes sense. So I'm not sure I trust my inside buddies, my insider buddies, any more than I would trust the people on CNN or Fox. And if you guys watch the God Logic Project, and I hope you do, I don't trust them either. So and that is, I sound flip when I say that, but it's important. I think that we approach this thing that way. That you take with a grain of salt everything you hear. You prepare for the worst, but uh, you don't expect the worst, right? We don't live in fear, and something that's been going through my head. In fact, it's kind of the subtitle of this episode. Is we're called as Christians, as human beings, we're called to live fearlessly, but we're not called to live foolishly. Does that make sense? So you'll hear all the time. The Bible says 365 times, "Fear not." Uh, I don't know. I've never counted it myself, and I don't know how loose they are with the interpretations of "fear not," Old Testament and New Testament. But it's pretty cool that it says it once for every day of the year. So I don't argue with it because I think it's pretty cool that it does it. Uh, but we really aren't called, especially if you're saved. You're not called to live, to live an exceptional amount of fear. It is normal and natural to have your God-given instinct of fear, but that is a fear that provides for us self-preservation, right? So, what would be an analogy for living fearlessly but not living foolishly? It's fearless to jump out of an airplane, right? It's foolish to jump out of an airplane without a parachute. So, out of the abundance of caution, I would encourage you guys to uh, to limit your contact with other people, right? And be considerate for folks that are older or may have a respiratory problem already, or may be sick already, or pregnant, or anything that might affect their immune system already. That you are very careful not to, even if you have no symptoms or only minor symptoms. That it may not be the same for older folks or for people with a compromised immune system already. And here, that's the key. I think it's the real key here is that these deaths that we're looking at on here, uh, 9,000 deaths here almost. Uh, that is that is generally folks who are already whose immune system is already compromised. So that is not healthy people. And the blessing in all this, if there's a blessing in all this, is that the young kids do not seem to be affected by this so far, or at least not to a tremendous extent. And we can scroll up on this website, by the way, and we can check out our countries. And we are, of course, the United States. But here's the numbers by country. And these updates, these new cases and new deaths are kind of a running total as of today. So, of course, it originated in China. They had almost 81,000 according to their numbers. And here's another big problem, I think, and we need to be clear about. We can't just trust out of hand the numbers coming out of China, because that's a closed society, and they are not. It's not like the United States, and it's not like a lot of the free world where they are going to put themselves in a bizarrely positive light, right? They'll go to any lengths to make themselves uh, look successful, or to make themselves look like they're doing a great job. I saw numbers before all this started of their what they report as their unemployment numbers every year in China, and it's like zero point 0.8, 1.4, 1.5. Uh, so they're reporting to the world that billions of people in China, and they only have an unemployment rate of zero point 0.8 or 0.15 or whatever it is. But we don't know how true that is. Who do they count as unemployed and employed? So when you're hearing the numbers so far, you're hearing a lot of these numbers from from questionable sources, and that would certainly be China in this case. I'm guessing Iran probably is not is not being completely forthcoming with their numbers too, maybe. And the key here for us, or it should be for us, I think, is what's happening in Italy, where they're what's happening in the Western world, which is they're going through this before we're going through this, and that's not any that's not those numbers aren't great. So Italy is reporting almost 36,000 cases of coronavirus, with 4,200 new cases just today, and their death toll, unfortunately, is almost 3,000, with 475 people passing away today. I know that Italy's. I did see. I don't know what news channel I was watching, but I did see that that Italy's healthcare system is really being overrun. So, and this is what you're seeing in the United States now, where they're telling you not to go to the doctor if you just have. Don't go to the hospital. Don't go to the doctor. They're setting up physician, like you go to the doctor over Skype or whatever, uh, and the so they our hospitals are generally at 60 or 70% capacity, I guess, on an average day, and then so they will not be able to handle a huge influx of new patients to the hospital. So this is concerning, uh, and we're seeing that apparently in Italy, where something like 12% of their healthcare workers are now infected with the coronavirus, which is scary. They're asking around the world for other countries to kind of lend them some doctors and nurses, and that's going to be very hard to do. Now, our numbers are we're way down here, so our numbers are right as we speak. According to this, we're at 9,200. We're at 9,200 cases, but a whopping 2,800 new cases in the last 24 hours or during today. We have, according to this, 150 deaths. Now, I've heard 100, so I don't know how accurate these numbers are. And new deaths just today of 41. So here's the scary part, or here's the part that would or should give you some concern. We don't have a lot of tests available right now for whatever reason. You blame Trump, you could not blame Trump, whatever, but they're not available either way. So we are in a situation where we have a reasonably low manageable number, except that we don't really know very well how many people have actually been infected by this virus. And again, some people are going to get sick, and they may not even realize they have anything more than a common cold, but they can still then carry the coronavirus to other people. So, and that is when you begin to worry about people that are pregnant, or older people, anybody with an immune system problem already, or a respiratory system problem already, can be profoundly affected by this coronavirus, and that's what we need to be concerned about. And that's the importance, I think, of what they call flattening the curve of cases, which would then probably make things last longer. So I see this as being months and rather weeks of kind of what do they call it, social distancing or whatever they call it. I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of self quarantining just out of because I can. The kids are home, and what am I going to do? So I'm home with the kids and taking care of things around here. We have gone online with our church services. We've gone online with our 12-step programs. Uh, God Logic Project, of course, is always online, right? Always on YouTube or Facebook. So that hasn't changed a whole lot. But maybe how smart is it to have guests in the studio now? We were getting ready to do part 2 of Black in America next week, the 23rd. And I haven't spoken to Michael uh, here recently about that, but I'm guessing we're going to end up doing this thing over the Zoom app, because it's going to be hard to get. It's going to be hard for me to ask them to come in, and they certainly. I love both of these guys. We've been friends a long time, so I'd certainly have them in here, but I wouldn't expect them to come in here and sit in the studio for an hour or two. So we'll see how that goes. So we go back to our numbers. Can we go back to our numbers? We go back to our numbers, and again, I'm trusting this website that I've never heard of for these numbers. So take even what I say with a grain of salt. But uh, we go to I'm gonna try to find the numbers for our country here, for the countries in the United States, and I'll click on the United States and see what they come up with there. And there's the same numbers: 92, 36, 150 deaths, and 106 people have recovered already, or they've been through the process already. So If we have, and I'll do the math on that real quick, but if uh, we have 150 out of 9236, we're talking about a 1.5% mortality rate in the United States so far, which is not great. You know, it's not good news, but it's good news comparably. Uh, Only thing is, I don't think we have terribly accurate numbers. And that's what I wanted to talk to you guys about was how do we approach this the next week or two? Right now, people that live in Florida kind of used to hurricane season, and a couple of times a year, sometimes we have to do this. We have to hunker down. We have to stay in the house. And as a Floridian for the last 30 years, it feels a lot like that. It feels like, you know, you're in the cone of the hurricane path, and so you got to get your food, and you've got to, you know, the schools close and everybody gets ready for a hurricane. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't happen. But that, of course, we had Irma, and everybody in Florida got hit by Irma, and it was terrible, Irma. So this is so for the rest of the country. So you know, this is what it feels like to go through a hurricane season, and I suspect, unfortunately, that this Corona season is going to run right into the hurricane season in Florida, and I'm not sure what that's going to look like because people leave during hurricane season. They evacuate a lot of people, and uh, will they allow them? And even if they don't, if even if they do allow them, would it be smart to travel to another state? I think that it would be a bad idea to begin to travel to other states during this. So, all right, here's our states, right? New York, of course, particularly New York City, I'm sure, very hard hit by the coronavirus because was there 8, 9, 10 million people in that little tiny five island area, five borough area. So they have over 3,000 cases now. With according to this, 1,300 new cases today. 20 people have passed away by it, and that is up 7%. 7 people today. So our heaviest populated areas are going to be in rough shape now. Washington State also heavily hit, but they take a lot of air traffic from China, lands in Seattle or lands in the Northwest. So you would expect them to be hit pretty hard. So, but it drops down here, and then you know, I think the last I heard, one state, West Virginia, didn't have any cases, and now they've got one case. So that's interesting, and I don't see where Florida is on there, but Florida is a heavily populated state, of course, but we also we have a lot of cities, so we have quite a few cities in Florida. So that's just a bad air cough, by the way. Don't worry, I don't have corona. Uh, I don't see Florida in the list, or am I missing it? There it is. Florida has 338 cases, 121 new cases today, 8 deaths so far, which is up 2 for today. So here's an interesting what may be, and again, this is another thing they don't know. The warmer states like Florida, Arizona, and Texas, uh, we are going to our flu season ends sooner than everyone else's because it doesn't. This virus doesn't do well at 80 degrees or higher. It's already 85 every day in Florida. It's almost 85 in the studio right now. So, in that sense, the state of Florida is probably in pretty good shape. It's the countries in the northeast and the northwest, and of course the center of the country. The states that tend to have cold weather longer, that will have a harder time dealing with this because it's going to last longer over there. I suspect that even for Florida, that's going to be a temporary reprieve. Does that make sense? Because we don't have a vaccine for this. Hopefully, we do by the next flu season. We are going to have this is going to come back again next year, which is you know that's projecting, that's living in the future, and we don't do that here. I don't do that. I try not to do that. So we don't. But we even once we get through this, we're not out of the woods, right? We've got to come up with some kind of vaccine for that. So that's going to be another interesting wrinkle moving forward. Here's the big problem, and here's what I've been telling people one on one, friends and family and stuff like that. I've been telling them to be to be fearless, but don't be foolish. Be prepared for this thing. Get the food. You don't need 100 rolls of toilet paper, an 8 pack of toilet paper, which I already had, so I didn't even have to go get toilet paper. You just want to have food for a few weeks. if you can avoid going outside, it's probably wise that you do. Um, the It's not so much the virus at this point anyway that we have to worry about. It's people's response to the virus. It's people's uh, it's people's kind of irrational fear that is driving most of the pandemonium. So if you take our mainstream media and they want you to watch and they want you to click through, so they are going to put things in the worst possible light while pretending they're trying to put it in the best possible light. They're going to feign humility in a sense that they would that they could or would put this in the best possible light. And the truth is, uh, they want you worried. They want you scared. The stock market, let's see if I got a slide for that, but the stock market is just taking a wallop here. So this is from the website MarketWatch. And as you all know, the stock market was, what, 28, almost 29,000? Now we're under 20,000 today. We lost 1,300 points today, or 6.3%. And that's kind of been the way. We've had some good days and some bad days. We had a 3,000 point loss, which I think was something like 12%. So the markets are not reacting well because, and to a large extent, because we are hunkering down. So we are self-quarantining to some extent. We're not going to restaurants very often. We're not. I assume we're not uh, gathering in large crowds. Most of your large events have been canceled, so there is not football games and baseball games and basketball games and schools and colleges and where you would bring in a lot of people from different communities to the same place. Most of, not all of those things have been canceled. I know my son's school is canceled till April 15th, and I heard it was, and I suspect it's the school year is over. So my son's school, he goes to a charter school. They're setting up online schools. So starting on the 30th, he's going to be him and his computer in a quiet room, and he's going to be at school over the internet. And I think you're going to see a lot of that, and that could be a glimpse at the wave of the future, I think, for education as a whole. And that really goes to how well they manage this first wave and how prepared they are for the next wave of this next flu season. I guess it's going to come back. And how long is it going to take to have a vaccine? Now, my understanding is that they're working feverishly, even close to having a vaccine. But those types of things take time, and it's probably not going to happen for this wave. So this wave of the coronavirus, uh, we need to be, again, fearless without being foolish. We need to be very careful for this wave that we are uh, not going out more than we have to, not gathering in clubs and parks and beaches, which is a big thing in Florida, but rather that we are uh, we're hanging around our house. We're trying to maintain a good social distance from other people for now. It could not be a better time in history, by the way, for something like this to happen because we do have the internet and we are so well versed at socializing. Uh, for better or for worse, we're well versed at socializing over social media, over Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. Although I kind of hate Twitter, it's kind of a cesspool, but uh, got to do it. Got to be on there. So we are in that sense very well versed for something like this. So long as we, and I would assume we will maintain public utilities, we'll be able to maintain electricity, Wi-Fi. So it's not going to be like a hurricane, fellow Floridians. It's not going to suck that bad. And believe me, no air conditioning in Florida, no electricity means no sewer and no running water in Florida. When we have a hurricane, it sucks. And they do a great job getting us back online right away. And the trucks come from all different states to kind of help, and we do the same. So it's really hot in here. The air quality is terrible because the air conditioner isn't working. I feel like I'm actually speaking to you from a blanket fort, which is not pleasant. Uh, but I did want to take some time to talk to you guys and to encourage you. Uh, Whether you close your church, and it's a big debate, and I've seen people go online, my friends or acquaintances on Facebook, and they berate and they admonish churches that close their public gathering because they say they're not saved or they're lukewarm was the term the guy used. Now, if you don't read Scripture in Revelation, Jesus says to one of the seven churches that because you were neither hot nor cold but lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. Now, that's not good news for that church, right? And so, what this person's implying is that people that are closing their churches and moving their church services online are not as Christian as he is, right? They don't have as much faith as he has. That is a shortcoming we see in Christianity all the time. That is self-aggrandizing. Instead of giving the glory to God and bringing the glory to God, a lot of churches and a lot of denominations and a lot of pastors, and hopefully not me, we tend to deify ourselves, right? Christians tend to instead of serving God, they think they're playing God, um, and that is a big problem. So if you're thinking about closing and you're afraid that you're not a good Christian if you take these precautions, believe me, it's the best idea. It's not just the best idea for the people in your congregation, but it's the best idea for the people in your community, and you have a responsibility to them. Uh, again, it's fearless to jump out of an airplane. It's foolish to jump out without a parachute. There are things we can do to help our country through this process as Christian, as church leaders, that we are, I think, obligated to do. And whether we like it or not, as different as it is, we've got to do it. So I can barely breathe in this blanket fort. It's been a half hour. I'm going to sign off. If no one told you I love you today, God loves you, and so do I. Receive that, be blessed, and be fearless. Thank you.